What comes to mind when someone is described as an enlightened person? For me, I usually think that means this person has greater knowledge and insight. They're someone who is wiser. So what would come to mind if you heard someone described as being endarkened? Could being endarkened be a good thing? Might it also be a pathway to acquiring new knowledge and insight? Might being endarkened make us wiser? Welcome back to this ritual series on the treasures of darkness with Barbara Brown Taylor. I'm Matt Bloom, and in this session, we'll continue our exploration of the dark by learning to befriend the dark and noticing the richness of our nightlife. You can listen along however you like, but if you can, I would encourage you to find a silent, dark place where you feel safe to listen to this session. Maybe you'll just turn off the lights in the room you're in, or you can even just close your eyes to experience the darkness. In the first session, we started to challenge our conventional perception of the dark and question where that conditioning came from. Here, we'll take another step as we learn to befriend the darkness. Barbara calls this endarkenment.
I don't know that I would ever seek it and say, "Dear God, please, today I'd like to be endarkened." But when that happens, when life gives me that, I can't tell it apart from enlightenment. It's the same thing. It's aha. It's behold. It's who knew. It's what else.
When was the last time you deliberately sought darkness, deliberately experienced the darkness without reaching for a light of some kind? Maybe your answer is rarely. You rarely seek out darkness. Darkness is often something that I try to avoid. I guess that's what I've been conditioned to do. And so rather than feeling guilty about our habits, Barbara suggests that we can get curious about it instead.
Why do I automatically leave lights on at night? How many lights do I leave on at night? Why do I do that? Become more curious about your own darkness. What can you learn about your fear of it by staying with it for a moment before turning on the lights? Where can you feel the fear in your body? When have you felt that way before? What are you afraid is going to happen to you? And what is your mind telling you to do about it?
In general, do you prefer to avoid physical darkness? Do you prefer some light in a room over it being completely dark? What are you concerned about in dark situations? There are some reasonable concerns, like concern about tripping over unseen objects or bumping into sharp corners. But what other concerns or fears does the light protect you from? I'm uncomfortable with the unknowns that might exist in dark rooms or dark spaces. It's not necessarily a rational concern, it's more primal than that. It's a feeling that something dangerous might be lurking in the darkness. And I feel this way. It's not a thought, it's just much more of a feeling. And I feel this way especially in dark basements and in big rooms that are dark. Our imaginations can be very helpful in this practice. Let's take a moment to imagine ourselves back in a dark space that was unsettling. The more recent the experience, the better, because we can imagine it more vividly. So take a moment, try to put yourself back in that dark, unsettling space. This is important, but it can be difficult. And here again, Barbara has valuable guidance for us.
While you're doing this work, please pay attention to your own good sense and your own guide, that's telling you to ease up now. This work is worth doing. It's worth doing attentively. I'll go as far as I can, or as far as I'm not afraid. And then when I'm afraid, if I'm willing, I'll stay 3 seconds longer. I'll take 3 seconds is all. And if 3 seconds is too much, I might think of somebody who would sit with me next time so that I can go 3 seconds more. And then I might decide I never want to do that again. But I don't think many of us have even been invited to experiment like that.
So let's try to place ourselves back in that dark experience. Try to feel the darkness. Allow yourself to experience a little bit of the unsettledness or fears. Now just notice what you're feeling. Pay attention to where the emotions are showing up in your body and try to just describe a little bit to yourself what those feelings are like. Describing what we feel is a great way to begin to gain more insight into why we experience darkness in a particular and not so positive way. Feeling fear prejudices our future encounters with darkness. We expect them to be fearful, and so of course we're more likely to feel them and experience them that way. So stepping back to describe those prejudging feelings begins to diffuse them. Instead of turning away from the dark, what might happen if you let yourself experience it a little bit? Imagine staying calm in that dark place. But this time, try to imagine the darkness as a welcoming and calm, safe and protective place. In today's session, we began to question our closely held assumptions about darkness. And we're starting with how we experience and think about physical darkness, and taking small but important steps toward changing our assumptions about the darkness. Because we feel uncomfortable in the darkness, we're also taking time to examine those feelings and gain insight into how they shape our ongoing relationship with the dark. As we close our practice today, I want to offer you some encouragement from science. The value of any well-being ritual comes from practicing it. and not from practicing it perfectly or achieving some kind of result. It's simply doing the ritual that matters. And that's what we can do in this moment. We can practice over time, and as we do, we'll experience the rich benefits this ritual has to offer us. Before we close, here's the sustaining practice that you might choose to do in the days ahead. Walking in the dark takes practice. So, go for a walk in the dark, but in a safe place after darkness has settled in. Ideally, you'd walk outside, but if an indoor walk is best, that's fine too. As you go through your walk, engage in the same practice we went through together. Take careful notice of what you're feeling and thinking and sensing. You might think about what you can smell or what's the tiniest sound you can hear. Please don't pass any judgment on yourself. You're just trying to notice and name the thoughts and feelings that you have when you try to walk in the dark. As you continue your walk and you continue noticing and naming what you're thinking and feeling, you might see some shifts in your experiences, and if you do, take note of those too. As you enter the final part of your walk, just before you return to the light, offer an expression of gratitude for the privilege of learning how to walk in the dark and befriend it.